Ich entscheide, ob ich huste oder nicht.
Das war ja gerade auf der Gelegenheitshilfstunde.
Manchmal will man ja ein bisschen noch die Kehle freikriegen oder so. Welcome to eVision Live with Dr. Alexandra Kleeberg
and Dietrich Busacker and Natali Bitz.
Welcome, Natali. eVision Live is your broadcast on self-healing and potential development. And today we have a special topic, and therefore our special guest, Natali. It's about asthma. Asthma is a disease which causes 250,000 lesser cases every year, and it's increasing as far as literature tells.
And even in children it's increasing.
And even children have it already. So Natali has healed herself from asthma. She has done many things in her life, but this is here why she is here today, and she will tell you about it, how she did it, and we will talk about what it is, asthma. We will talk about the history of the symptom. We will talk about what is a necessary mind shift that is necessary to get out of this disease, and she will bring us quite a bit of exercises and tips how to get along with your asthma and how to self-heal. So how works self-healing and asthma? These are the three topics, and to start with, actually I don't want to say much about Natali, but she brought along a very interesting citation quote from Lao Tzu. The wise person breathes as if he or she didn't breathe at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Natali, so what does it mean, or can you demonstrate it? What does it mean?
Yeah, okay. So I have gone through quite a lot with this, let's call it asthma topic. But what impressed me very much was actually what Lao Tzu said about breathing. It is that the wise man breathes as if he didn't breathe. So what does it actually mean? I was trying to calm down the breathing. I found something very nice and very interesting, breathing exercises that helped me that way. And I think I also found this quotation in this book written by a Russian author who was writing about buteyko, and it actually means you breathe only a little bit in and a little bit out, and then you are calm and quiet and you don't breathe at all. So just for this
just
emission
follow us.
today, we're trying to do this together. So breathe in and out. And if we keep in mind that we should look as if we were not breathing at all, you won't see any breathing, and you, of course, don't hear any breathing. In this buteyko, I'm showing you the book. It's also available in English, I suppose. Maybe it was first there in Russian.
Probably it was in English and Russian first.
I think it's called Life Without Asthma then, the English one, the buteyko method. And
because you actually got it from Great Britain, so it should from the UK. It should be in
English. I got the information about this method from a friend who is English, and she found a newspaper article when I was really suffering in this asthma topic, and I read this, that with the help of this buteyko breathing, these people got rid of all their symptoms. I went on the internet and I ordered this book and I started my self-therapy. I like doing exercises on myself. I like adventures. So I was just trying myself. But it did work. And I think the most important effect of the whole thing is that I kind of found something a means of how I get to my silent and quiet island inside of myself with the help of this breathing method.
To get back into inner peace, because we say asthma is a lifestyle sickness by much stress, hurrying around,
doing
following
things.
expectations
Until
and
you are out of
perfectionism
breath. Makes
until
you
you are
breathless.
out of breath. Yes.
And this breathlessness is actually asthma. You can't breathe anymore.
Yes.
I think this is really connected.
Absolutely.
Some years ago I read something very nice that I also often like to say: we are human beings, not human doings.
And no machines.
And no machines.
Yes.
So I often try to be, to breathe calmly, gently, silently. And I enjoy this very much. And with the help of this phenomenon, I found the drive to bring me into a daily exercise of early morning exercise, noon exercise, and of course it has become kind of my lifestyle, because if you start changing your breathing method, everything changes, because breathing is so substantial. It's just everything you do is after you breathe. You even influence how your heart beats, how your blood flows through your body and everything. And if you also combine your breathing with positive thoughts, imagination, it is really such a blissful thing. So I'm very grateful
for this
that I found all that, of course, with the help of this very much pressure, because I was nearly dying then.
So maybe we make a step back.
Yes.
So this is actually the message we want to bring along. We would go dive deeper now. Asthma, what is it? I have never had asthma. I think it's somehow it sounds scary, and I remember many people have it, or it's diagnosed. My son when he was a strong cough, he was said, "Oh, be careful, this could be asthma, whatever." And he came, "Well, Papa, I'm afraid I have asthma." What is it concrete?
I think it is a phenomenon of fear.
Yes.
It is a phenomenon of fear, because it is the fear of dying. It's the fear of suffocating, of not getting enough air to breathe. Whereas the problem is not so much the breathing in, but the breathing out. So letting go is much more important than taking in. So let's describe what it feels like. If you have never had this feeling, I can probably describe it a way that you are kind of chained. You are completely wrapped into something very, very tightly, and it does not feel good at all. And when you are in this state, you cannot think of anything but how to breathe the next breath.
So it's very unfree.
Yeah.
Tied up, narrow.
Yeah.
And life becomes narrow too.
Life becomes narrow because you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You're always trying to avoid difficult situations. I ended up not being able, standing up from the sofa and walking to the telephone, because I didn't have the breath for it. Which seems really unbelievable now. But with the help of this Buteyko breathing method, I got it all back. And I think it's important to maybe to explain how it works a little bit. So when we suffer from asthma, we have too much oxygen in our body, and oxygen is acid. And our body tries to keep harm away from our cells with too much acid. And so our bronchia kind of close in order to keep too much oxygen out. So it is kind of a self-protection mechanism, we could even say.
Yes.
If we want to breathe in a relaxed way, we need a certain level of CO2 in our lungs. And if we have this, breathing is healthy and relaxed. Lots of people who suffer from asthma also have allergies, or if you get a cold and you have got a blocked nose or a cough, this is very counterproductive.
I
Because
suppose.
if you sneeze or if you cough, you kind of throw out all the relaxing CO2 out of your lungs. And if you then breathe deeply in, you fill your lungs with oxygen, and you make it worse. You worsen the situation, the breathlessness. So if we try to keep our CO2 level in a healthy, on a healthy level, we should not sneeze. And there is an acupuncture point here under the nose. You can kind of press this, hold your breath, and concentrate on your breathing. Silently in, silently out. Until this sneezing reflex goes away. It does work. It doesn't need concentration, but it does go away then. You can do the same with cough. There is the acupuncture point here. And everything else, like yawning very deeply, is not very good if you're suffering from asthma. Or taking a deep breath for whatever reason, for what's that or something. So we should try to calm all our thinking and our behavior down. So this way of changing our breath, our breathing method, changes our behavior, our body language. I think it also changes our lifestyle. It changes everything. If you have to concentrate on your breathing, this is such a deep concentration that you need to change your breathing method. There is no room for other things. So it took me about a year to change that. And at night, I forgot that in the last interview, at night, I put a sticker on my mouth, because at night I would probably have breathe through my mouth, and it's not allowed to breathe through mouth. It's only nose is for breathing and mouth is for other things like eating, singing, or kissing. So just breathe.
Talking.
Yeah, talking. Right. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but let's make a step maybe again backwards. But because how would you think, how did you get to this situation? How got you into it? You came into a crisis. But what is your hypothesis behind? How did you get asthma? Or what is the history of it? How did it develop? Did it appear once, or did it have a long history in your life?
I would say it started with a conflict in my childhood. When I was a young child, I had an experience with kittens, baby kittens, who were just about to be killed at the farm, because farmers don't want to have millions of kittens. So, I was there and the kittens were there, and I knew they would have been killed. And so I took them into my room and I hid them under my duvet, my bed. And I ended up having itchy eyes, full of tears, nose blocked, and everything was itchy. And I had to be sent home. I think the cats, they made their way. I don't think I really helped them. Maybe 2 or 3 more days of their lives. But this was the first time I had this kind of conflict. It was not suffocating, it was not asthma yet, but I think it was the first time I had such a crisis.
So allergy to the
allergy.
Hair.
Yeah. So it was the allergic reaction with cats' fur. Yeah.
And you had guilt feelings hiding them? You shouldn't have done it.
I shouldn't have done it. I like the people.
So was that the conflict? I love the cats, but I don't want to do something wrong.
Maybe I was also I can't even say what, because I really liked these people, and I still can't bring this together. How can someone be so lovable, so adorable, and then kill baby kittens?
So this was your conflict.
It was really hard for me then. It still is. It still is, because I don't understand that. Anyhow, many years later, maybe I was 22, I had another crisis, let's call it that. I think I've also got an allergic reaction with barley. And we used to have a house, a very old house, and in the ceilings, when we did renovation, old insulation material came down, and it was quite dirty, and I got another asthma attack then.
So what's the difference between allergy and asthma?
Not
How
every
did you
an
feel?
allergy. I think an allergy can cause lots of symptoms. You can have itchy skin. You can have digestion problems. You can have
Okay.
itchy eyes. You can get a kind of cold or a blocked nose, or you can have bronchitis, or your bronchus can close, and that's called asthma. Then
Okay,
So
so
it's
one symptom of
It's just one-
one severe
it's just one
symptom.
symptom. Yes, but it did become worse and worse.
And it's the
And the
most
symptom-
threatening symptom. Itching is not
I would
that
say all the other
threatening.
symptoms were just when I met. Funnily enough, normally cats like me. If someone has a cat and there are 10 people in the room, the cat sits on my lap. That's just the way it is. So, but as long as I didn't get an asthma attack, I just ignored the itchy stuff and all that. I just stroked the cat, and afterwards I left, and the symptoms disappeared too. This happened for quite a while. And then when it was I think about 10 years ago, no, a bit longer, we had a little kitten, and the kitten was brought to our doorstep. And it was the end of October, it was really cold, and the mother cat didn't want this kitten. And it was the question whether the kitten would die outside or whether I would take it into the house and kind of overcome my asthma. And it did work. It took me about half a year. I always set it on my belly, and I would say I prayed for the love that would flow through me and everything would be all right. And I ended up having a cat that followed me everywhere and even slept in my bed. Although I had always had this cat allergy. Well, thought I had.
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge, but we met it. We had a wonderful time together until the poor guy was run down in front of the house. Okay, and then in the same year, I got this very strong attack. And it did not really disappear afterwards. It came back and it stayed. And I ended up with a very strong asthma attack, and I had to be brought to hospital because I nearly suffocated. And I got very strong medication with cortisone and stuff. And we had to remove all the carpets from the house. And I ended up at the lung specialist, who told me I would have to take my cortisone spray till the end of my life, which kind of caused a bit of a depression because I'm determined to be independent. I want to rule my life myself. I don't want to be dependent on any medicine or whatsoever. It took me about 2 months, and I was also thinking about...
And you took that for 2 months?
I took that, yes.
And actually, if you
I had to take it, but I was already thinking of committing suicide because it was just not the way I wanted to live. And I thought, at this age, I don't want to go on like this for more 30 or 40 years or whatever. But as I had little children and family, I decided that's too much pain I would put on them, so there must be any other solution.
Okay.
And at the very moment...
It didn't feel good, the cortisone?
No.
It didn't feel like a relief or something?
No. It felt like it was really heavy. It was like...
Did it have side effects?
I could not say because it was not very long. I got rid of it after these 2 months because I hated it. It's just, I don't want to take... I can cope with... I have to drink water because this is necessary. I have to eat, and I love eating, but I don't want to take any chemical stuff. I don't know, there is kind of a barrier. I don't want that.
Okay.
So it was a no?
It was a no, yes.
So that was important.
But I did take it, and I also took this other spray, this bronchial opening spray, when I was nearly suffocating because it was just whether to die or to live. So I did take it, but I was very unhappy in that situation.
And the doctor told you can't do anything about it.
No, the lungs doctor tried out everything, and I went through all these
tests,
these checks and tests, and the lungs were bad, and the whole state was bad. And he said, "Well, your lung is so terribly affected, you have to live on that."
And actually, we googled also. There are quite a bit of doctors saying in the internet,
It's
you can't cure it.
But that's not true. Everything, you can do everything.
Yes,
you can free you from everything. Just throw it away if you don't like it. Yeah. And at the very moment when I decided I want to find something else, I've got an English friend, and she came along with this article, and this article said that there are people who cure themselves with this Buteyko method, And I ordered the book and I started my self-experiment right away. It took me quite a while until it then really worked, because this is, we are not dolphins. We can't normally dive as long as dolphins can dive. But we've got maybe nearly the same hardware. So it's just a question of awareness.
Yes, and you said you trained your unconscious brain.
Yes.
By the breathing.
Yes, breathing is unconscious.
Absolutely. And how did you train it? You said it was exhausting sometimes.
It was exhausting. Yes, you have got to stop breathing. You breathe a bit in, a bit out, and then you close your mouth, close your nose, and then you count. So first I did this sitting. I was sitting on my armchair and I was doing these breathing exercises. But it put so much pressure on me, and I was so full of, I had to move.
Fear. Were you full of fear?
Pressure.
You could die again, or you couldn't get enough breath?
It was kind of a self-conflict, because I knew I have to do it. But the feeling is you just want to get away of this situation. You want to breathe in, but I knew this is the only way. I have got to discipline. I have to disciplinate myself. I have got to change my breathing pattern. Otherwise, there is no way out of this situation. So this was hard, kind of self-discipline, I would say.
And before that, your breathing was like what?
Very I think it is nervous. It was nervous. It was too much. But I can't tell, because I did not really watch myself. I only started watching myself.
It's unconscious now.
It's unconscious, yeah. People don't realize as long as you don't tell them.
You have to change the unconscious.
Yes,
we have to change. Yes. Yeah. But actually, you have to remember how it's normal. Little babies don't have asthma, do they? When I see a little baby in a cradle, and now they just grandmother,
silently.
They just sleep.
Yeah.
Silently, they're very relaxed as long as the parents don't stress.
Perfect. Yeah.
So actually, you have to remember your body or remind it how healthy breathing feels now.
I would even say you've got to take over your responsibility for what's going on. You have to get aware of, who am I? What do I really want? What have I got all this wonderful body for? What do I really want to do with it? I want to lead a happy and healthy life, and I'm starting now. Let's get going. So I started doing this. It was really hard. After a few months, I went to someone who had been going through everything and who did some teaching, and she helped me a little bit. She assisted me, telling me that one day I will be able again to breathe deeply outside, at the seaside maybe, breathe in all this wonderful air. Because at that state, I thought I would always have to breathe just a little bit, and this felt so desperate. But when I learned that at a certain level, everything will be good, and I will be in peace, and everything will be fine and relaxed, I could get through it.
How long did it take you to find that certainty and that self-esteem that you said, oh, this works, I don't need this cortisone as a possibility anymore?
Maybe 3 or 4 months of exercising. Whereas I think I stopped the cortisone when I found this therapy method, because I realized at the very moment I do these exercises, it gets better. After 5 minutes, it's better.
And you did it at the beginning, you did it 3 times a day, or how often did you do it?
3 times a day. Morning,
15
noon,
minutes?
evening. I had to write down everything. I had a script, then I wrote down how many breaths, how many minutes. I had a stopwatch to check how long can I stop my breath.
And this was the scary part, not to breathe at all.
Well, if you try, you stop, and you don't breathe when you have the reflex to breathe again. You will feel that this is very uncomfortable. I would not say scary, but it's very uncomfortable. It puts pressure on you.
Yeah, that's because after 30 seconds or a minute or 90 seconds, there's a reflex coming that you have to...
The people who die for pills, they die for 5 minutes or longer. Yeah. So they have got a different breathing pattern. And that's what we all can have if we want to. And it decreases our stress. It brings us into a very gentle breathing pattern and into a very silent and peaceful state of mind, I would say. And that's the gifting.
Yeah. They managed to
That's
cut
it.
off this reflex in your brain that you have to breathe. So just because you've really cut it off, you
I
shut
wouldn't
it
say
down.
I calm it off, I just
You shut
calm
it,
it down and say,
you calm
wait
it
a
down.
little
Yeah,
bit.
wait a little
It's
bit.
fine. Just keep calm. Everything's fine.
So you sort of soothe your
Now I do, yes.
brain.
At that stage when I had to train my brain, I was closing my nose, closing my mouth, and when I started running, I could run 80 steps without a breath. And at that level, I was actually already cured, because now in a healthy state, it would be difficult when you are not trained on that, when you are not focused on doing that. But if you do this is exactly the same thing as if you breathe into such a bag.
Yes.
It brings CO2 into your lungs and it relaxes your whole breathing organs.
And nowadays, this breathing has become more automatized.
It is part of my life.
Mhm.
If I drive my car or if I sit at the table and write something, or now while we are speaking, I always hold my breath. And
you can continue
stop for
doing
a
this during this interview. Just continue doing this breathing, this kind of breathing.
I have never had asthma or anything but like that, but I like this way you teach it and the softness in it. It feels very light and fluffy.
Yeah. It's this gentleness that I like in it. And it only appeared yesterday morning. I did not reflect too much on what to say today. Because I thought, well, maybe the most important thing is the message, how the positive outcome is. And the positive thing about all that I've gone through is that I now have this gentle way of breathing that settles my mind, that makes me happy, and that also influences my surrounding in a very peaceful way. And especially this hand movement, it only appeared yesterday. So in
it's real.
and out.
It looks like if you had done it for centuries.
You can feel so. But in this life, I only started yesterday morning.
You know,
Sure.
when we first met, what I really like, and I tell it in my groups all the time, I didn't bring it together with asthma, but I think it relates to the softness. You said something like, Alexandra, you can do whatever you do, everything is all right. And I've given it to some other people, saying, you can do whatever you do, it's all right. And I think this reminds me of this softness. Right?
Yeah, it's all flowing. You know, we've got such a wide range of things we can do as human beings. And maybe we tend to judge, but we should not, because everything is fine. The only person who can probably change is myself, and this is already really interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe what changed in your life if you compare your life before your asthma crisis when you got to hospital and today?
I take my time for myself.
Very important.
I take my time for the things I really want to do. I love nature. I enjoy being outside. I enjoy watching birds. I enjoy looking at the plants, how they grow, the trees. It's very important to me to help this planet healing. And I think self-healing is a mosaic stone. So it's very important that more and more people heal themselves, come into this flow, this awakening, and there is hope. So one part of my training, every day I start, when I get up in the morning, I wake up and then I think of my exercise. And when I decide to get up, I first of all sit on my bed and I start, I am the queen of my life. I love myself and I appreciate myself. My wings carry me lightly. My feet dance as feathers through my life. My eyes see everything clearly. My ears hear every tune. my nose and mouth smell and taste the abundance of life. I realize, I perceive, but I don't judge. My heart beats in the rhythm of love. I am perfectly healthy. And I'm grateful for my life and everything it brings along. I bless this wonderful planet and everything that lives and breathes. So something very important to me is also gratitude and blessing. So, and I have a very strong feeling that there is a lot of healing power in these words and in imagining exactly what I say. And of course, I always breathe lightly and gently. Interestingly enough, I've forgotten one part. My energy and my breathing are flowing harmoniously.
I have some people in my groups with asthma or breathing problems, and I like the lungs are wings, and you set this imagination with the wings, and then life becomes easy and light
light and free.
feather-like and free. And I think this is the message where we want to get to when we get out of asthma. Asthma is eng, it's narrow, it's tight, and to come into this fluffiness.
To open up and take it easy.
Take it easy. That's a good.
Okay,
That's
thank you. Thank you so much, Natali. So,
Take it easy.
so Natali, maybe she would be able to also to answer some questions. So if you have questions, please join our Facebook group, Self-Healing and Potential Development. And so if you have any questions to Natali, please ask them, or you ask them here down in the comments, and she will come back to you. So thank you so much, Natali, for being with us. I hope this was useful for you.
And we have this little prayer as a PDF to download.
Yes, exactly. So this will be on our blog, evisionpublishing.com/blog, and there you will find it. We put the link down here, and and for the
as a last quotation, I would like to come back to Lao Tzu again, because he was so wise, and this is an eternal truth that needs to be said again and again. The wise breathes as if he didn't breathe. So take it easy, breathe gently, and enjoy your life.
Okay.
Thank you very much for watching, and open your heart and start.
So, wir haben ein Problem.
Wieso?
Wir haben mal den Ventilator vom Computer.
Das ist jetzt kein, es ist so, wie es ist.
Da wirst du das ganze Rauschen drauf haben.
Der Lorenz kann das ein bisschen wegmachen.
Ein bisschen kann das wegmachen, aber
wir können auch immer trinken.